Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever Capture Points, the Overwatch talk show and podcast of GosuGamers.net. I'm your host, Radoslav Kolev, and joining me for the launch of this hopefully wonderful show and enjoyable for you are three of my dearest colleagues at GosuGamers.net. We're talking about, of course, Tom Mathiasen, aka Matthias, Jacob Godfrey, aka Menmode, and Robert Kirkbride, aka Hexagrams. Guys, it's exciting. We're launching a new project. It's going to be awesome because Overwatch is awesome. We're less awesome than the game itself, but I'm excited. I'm excited because I've been doing Hearthstone podcast and Hearthstone content for a long while, some heroes as well. So I'm really excited to bring this into a new game, man. I've been so hooked on Overwatch. It's absolutely unreal. But before we proceed, I guess a few words of introduction are necessary because the Overwatch community might not really know who we actually are. And we actually have been around for some time now. I myself have been an esports journalist for 7 years now, formerly an editor-in-chief of GosuGamers.net, now just the guy that does everything, but it's not called editor-in-chief for some reason. But yeah, I've been writing, I've been podcasting for a long time now, and I am now doing Overwatch with you guys. Tom, some introductory words from yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Tom, go by the gamer tag of Mattheist. Been involved in the GosuGamers Hearthstone section since I think the end of April, kind of, and since then I've been to Gamescom for GosuGamers and to Prague for the Road to BlizzCon, and did interviews there, published some articles and stuff. Really like it, and now with Overwatch coming out, I'm very excited for this game. So
Jacob?
Okay, I'm Jacob Godfrey, go by Man Mode. I've been at GosuGamers for about 8 months now, I want to say, something like that. I mostly do competitive analysis, guides, stuff like that. I used to be in the amateur Heroes of the Storm scene. I'm pretty good at video games. I like video games.
You're okay.
That's what I do.
Yeah, it's okay. You're pretty short as well, because you're because you're the only person on the podcast that's shorter than me. I'm just gonna remind you every
Oh,
episode.
no.
That, yeah,
Yes,
we
you
just.
do.
Where's the
I gotta make up
solidarity?
for it in other ways.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
solidarity.
because-
I mean, it's the solidarity comes when we meet with the obnoxiously tall people and just remind them we're better than them in everything we
Oh,
do.
yeah, of course.
And finally, we have Robert. Robert, some words from you.
Hey, I go by Hexagrams. I've been doing GosuGamers stuff since in March of last year, probably 9 months, whatever that is. I did Heroes of the Storm stuff for a while, but it was all just a clever bid to wait for Overwatch to come out. So Overwatch is out now, and I'm stoked. I played so much TF2. It's embarrassing the amount of hours. I played some competitive TF2, used to cast competitive TF2. So class-based first-person shooters right up my alley, and Overwatch is the best thing since sliced bread.
Jeez. So you're basically saying that you're the only guy on the show that.
I'm the
knows
only
what-
one qualified to talk about Overwatch.
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
we're here. We're here supporting your expertise and
Right.
skills.
I
Like
would
we,
argue
we're
with
just,
that.
It's gonna be funny. Like, you guys are gonna have opinions, and I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna gently say, "Look, well, you're wrong in so many aspects, but it'll be good. It'll be a good show."
it's going to be like Entourage, the HBO series where you're the only important person. We just hang around.
Right? Yeah. I'm Vince. Someone can be Turtle. I don't know. I watched that show forever.
Yeah, I think we can find like there are a couple of short guys which can be Turtle and yeah, I'm not sure where we can find like Tom is drama basically at this point. Sorry, but it's you're the loser of the company, I guess.
I
It's,
don't care as
it's
long
just
as I'm
how-
the best player, you know.
yeah, well, you're not going to be. So how capture points will work every weekend or every week rather? We'll have an episode on a very regular basis. We're going to talk about. We'll have a new segment at the start of each show, covering basically what's happened in the world of Overwatch the past week. Once we go over the major points of the past 7 days, we'll go into one or two main topic segments. Now, those will be more focused discussions on a certain subject, which can be anything from hero or class roles to strategy segments to talking more general subjects like both competitive and casual in nature. So there will be really everything for anything for everybody. Like if you want to, if you're into the competitive scene, you will find episodes that will fit right in your alley. If you're more like a casual guy that just wants to play Overwatch when he comes back from work, there will be topics about you for you as well. Uh, Going through the news from the last week, as I promised, Jeff Kaplan recently released a vlog on matchmaking in Hero Bounce where he talks about, topics that are really important in every game's development, especially in team-based games. He touches on matchmaking, saying that it's in an experimental phase for them. He says that they are gathering a ton of data, putting into simulations, trying to make the best matchmaking process possible in Overwatch. And this comes really in following a lot of criticism that Blizzard's other teams have been taking, particularly in the Heroes of the Storm department. For those of you who might be playing this game, they know that it's not really ideal when you go in Hero League, for example, you get either wrecked or wreck other people. It's really been a widely discussed problem in that game. But Overwatch, it's good to see that they're addressing it earlier. I would say, guys, do you see this as the matchmaking really being flawed at this point? And do they have any, let's say, grounds of major restructuring or major redesign of the matchmaking process that they have to necessarily go through to make it better?
I mean, I think honestly, there are some games where you get rolled, but there are just as many, if not more, games that are really close and really competitive. That I even, when he came out with the blog, I was actually a little surprised that they thought matchmaking had been an issue. One, because it's very early beta, so it's such a small pool, but two, the amount of games that are rolled, it's the game's over in 5 minutes, and then you kind of reshuffle the teams even when you're in a party. So someone that you played against who just wrecked you is now on your team, and teams get kind of rebalanced immediately. So I think the matchmaking has been doing all right for the limited amount that they have, and the roles, they feel bad, but there's been so many close games. I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of times of overtimes I've been in Overwatch. So right now, I mean, I'm glad that they're looking at it, but I don't think it's been a game-breaking issue for me so far.
Yeah, I can't remember when they did the MMR reset. I think it was last week. But immediately after that, I would notice like, oh man, these games are really easy. Like, I'm wrecking everybody, or I'm like getting slaughtered. But it was almost like 10 matches or like 12 matches or something after that where it started to even out really well. So I don't know what they're doing, but it's working pretty well. I mean, after the initial like rough start of it kind of worked out. So
Yeah, this has been exactly my experience. Like I started playing, like I was on a pause for about 2 weeks after BlizzCon, and then just started playing recently again. And yesterday I had, an offensive team where we had like two Torbjorns in a Symmetra. Like, guys, what are you doing? This is not how the game is supposed to work. But in about 15 or 20 games, the team started rebalancing themselves, as you said. I started, playing with people who knew what their role is supposed to be, who knew how to play their heroes. And this is something I've always been lacking in these 5v5, team-based games, right? It's always, I feel it's so many more instances of one-sided games that I'm just not seeing in Overwatch, and this makes me happy. And to actually hear Jeff Kaplan saying that they're actually addressing this problem so early when it's not even that big of a problem makes me really hopeful for game's future.
I think like I had a few games as well, which is at like on offense, and people pick Bastion, for example. It's really frustrating to play with, but yeah, they get filled out, and you get to play with more and more experienced people. But that does mean that the game keeps track of those kind of things, and that there is some kind of ranking system already. Just waiting for them to make it public, and so we can see what rank we are and kind of stuff. But yeah, I think they obviously have a lot of data behind the scenes, and they know what matchmakings go well and what goes wrong. So I suppose they know what they want to change about it as much. But I agree with Robert. Like most of the times, more often you have very close games than you get rolled over or you roll over somebody.
I'm happy to see that they have this new rating system after each game. Like you can rate, if the match was pleasant for you or unpleasant for you. Same with your teammates. It's really extensive. I did not expect anything like this in such an early beta builds, right? Because I don't know.
It's
I
made
don't
me
know
so much nicer to people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found myself rating the match as like a positive, fun match, even when we lose more often.
No, of
So
course.
yeah,
I think that's the idea, right? Like, did you enjoy playing the game? Because every time I play a game, it's not about always winning. It's about getting the best experience, right? If you get a
Right.
close match, sure you lose, but the other guys were just better. I prefer these type of games way more than just being on even on the winning side of a train wreck of a game, right? Like, you just stomp everybody. That's not really fun.
Hmm. Yeah, the only negatives I give out is like when we have like 3 snipers on offense, and it just goes. I'm just putting my face in the wall, like, and when teams not like working together at all or doing anything. But it's so rarely the case, and those things just don't stick in my mind at all. Like you get rolled or you roll over, and it's like, well, that game's over. Let's move on to one that's more fun. You know?
Yeah, and it's crazy how many games are actually balanced right now that actually makes sense, because if you look at Overwatch is a step above, I would say, traditional MOBAs, in the sense that first of all, that there are more people in the game, and you need to coordinate with your folks so much more than, let's say, in League and Dota, where a single person can carry. You cannot carry in Overwatch as hard as in other games, right? I'm not sure how things are in Team Fortress, but it feels good to play as a team. The game is made to be played as a team, like all 6 of you, and not even like 2 people squads can make a difference if the other people is if the other team is called together, I guess say.
And even what they introduced now is, if you say like Robert T, who has 3 snipers on offense, after the match you can rate each individual player. You can give them like the same as you rate the game. You can give them stars. I don't know what they do with it, but they certainly have to take it into account. So if you play with people who are annoying and don't know the game, or just just purposely ruin the game, then you can rate them and
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, those people are so few and far between, though. I mean, maybe it's because of the small people in the beta pool, but oftentimes, like, I'll be in voice chat and I'll say, like, maybe we don't need 3 snipers, and then someone will be like, "I'm sorry, man, I'm just really enjoying playing sniper," and like, that's fine. I won't report it. Like, that's cool. But if they're like whatever, like it's just about the attitude that they take with it. Like, I'm playing whatever, you suck, then maybe you get a negative star. Like,
Yeah.
But if you're like, this is how I want to experience and enjoy the game, fine. Then maybe we'll lose, but I'm glad you're having a good time.
I've I've had more than one occasion where we've been getting really, really rolled in a game, and I'll say like, hey guys, we probably need a Reaper right now. Could one of the Widowmakers go Reaper maybe? And they do. People people are really pretty willing to cooperate if you give the advice pleasantly, and if
Yeah.
it's good advice.
Yeah, and
The,
this
the
is
atmosphere, the atmosphere in the game is still very nice. It's like you almost see no
We-
flaming goal or whatever.
I hate to be the negative guy, but I just know this is going to change. I just know. But anyways, moving on to, well, further on to the same vlog of Jeff Kaplan. In the video, he's also talking about hero balance, right, and some challenges that the team is facing. He first talked about supports, and this is going to be one of our main topics later in the show. But he mentioned Symmetra and Mercy as two of the supports that were recently changed. Now Symmetra, she got a lot of her cooldowns reduced, and now she can spam shields. She can put way more turrets way more often, and they said that it now makes for a more interactive and more dynamic playstyle, which I absolutely agree with, because I used to play Symmetra, before the patch, and I would feel like I was doing nothing. I would put out my turret nest, and when it gets destroyed, I would be butt naked. I would have nothing. Like, every turret is like 20 seconds cooldown before, something like this. It was ridiculously long, and the shield as well. Now I can just spam people when we start the game, and I can move around and protect my. I feel like playing a support and not just a chick that shoots balls of lightning every once in a while. So that's good, but and this was expected. I don't really have any comments to add to Symmetry. I don't think you guys have anything to say about this, because I think we can all agree. Yeah, this is a good change to Symmetry. It makes her way more fun to play.
I do want to add that it addresses one of the big problems of her not being very good on attack.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think it does help in that regard.
Are we happy where she is though in the game? Can you solo support a Symmetra? Would be my question.
No, I don't think so.
No.
So she's still that soft support,
Yeah, I mean,
you still need someone else to go with her.
You need a healer.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you need heals. I mean, I don't know. Maybe at some point she gets something similar to a dispenser, Team Fortress dispenser, something that does a little bit of healing in a certain area. It's the only way I see her as viable as a solo support. Right now, you can't run her solo, but the meta is kind of double support.
Yeah.
The changes are good because Symmetra's biggest strength, in my opinion, is that she goes through shields, right? She deals with the Reinhardt with her alternative Fire Blast, that giant slow-moving orb. So on some maps, you need a Symmetra. And she feels a lot better now. I completely agree with Nidra that she felt absolutely useless before. Like, you die and go, why? Why am I Symmetra?
I feel like I'm okay with her being a quasi support, right? Basically, if you look at other games, they have it too, right? It's not, you cannot really solo support as a Symmetra, that's true. But if you look at Heroes of the Storm, you cannot really solo support as a Tassadar, for example, or Tyrande, right? So something like this. Yeah, you need something extra, right? And Symmetra is, as you said, essential on some maps, and it's okay for her to be a niche pick that fits in certain compositions. Like defending on Hanamura feels exceptional with her. Like it's, they will always go with these Reinhardt pushes through the chalk, and you will always, disrupt them. You can put turrets everywhere. Like one of the maps that I absolutely enjoy playing her, and I feel that it's okay to not be viable. It's okay to not be Mercy or Lucio.
All right, or like a Dorado, and often on maps she'll replace a Junkrat too, because she can just lock down a certain flank, and she's an unsung hero in a lot of aspects because Symmetra Teleporter will win you games. It will absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Her ult is insanely good, especially when you have like those capture points, because it's more still you have to get back to a certain point at a time, whereas with payload, the payload moves all the time, so you will spawn in less fortunate places maybe. But for what like Rada said on Hanamura, she's insane. You just put this nest of sentry turrets up next to the big gate, or within the capture point, and you put your teleporter behind it, and it's almost impossible to break through that if not coordinated well.
Yeah.
I would be careful with your wording of not viable as a solo support, because like Tassadar isn't viable as a solo support, but Team Blaze made it work. Cloud9 made it work. I could see something like a because she does give shields that are pretty good and they regenerate on their own. So I could see something like a double Soldier 76 Symmetra comp being a thing where they both have the healing planted.
Yeah, true.
Heroes with their own sustain, even Reapers too.
Yeah, but I guess what we were, pointing towards is that if you lack heal, she's not a good support to pick, right? The Soldier 76, combined, they're kind of a Mercy by themselves, right? I'm sure they're not boosting damage, but they're sustained within the team, right? And then, Symmetra can work as the off support, provides both damage and some form protection.
Given a composition of 5 random other heroes and you need a support, she's not the one who's going to carry them all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying somebody's going to make
it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe the tournaments this weekend.
So moving on to Mercy, this was the other support that was touched in Jeff Kaplan's video. He talked about how they redesigned her. Well, not redesigned, but they touched her ultimate to, the resurrection now triggers at the end of the casting animation, and they were not happy with it because it caused a lot of problems with respawn timers. You really had to time it way more, and it just didn't feel intuitive, right? But at the same time, triggering it at the start of the animation might have been too strong. I think at this point it's at the start of the animation again, right? But he said that they are looking to retune it possibly in different ways because she does feel a little bit stronger. than other supports. And I do agree, because if you look at competitive matches, the few competitive matches we've had, even with those scrims between, let's say, TF pros and Blizz devs, Mercy is always there. You know, even it's not uncommon to see Mercy Lisho as double heal, but Mercy is always there because, you know, she's a good damage partner to Pharah. She's a good damage partner to Widowmaker. She's a good healer for these Reinhardt, slowly pushing payload compositions. You know, she's so versatile. The mobility is insane. If you have good map awareness, you will never ever die unless you just walk into Widowmaker's snipe range or something.
Which happens.
Yeah.
Pretty often.
Which
I mean,
happens.
but you say her mobility makes her super strong, but her mobility also makes her really easy to shoot out of the sky. You know, if you've played enough Pharah, you know that like being in the air makes you just get shot in the head by McCrees and Widowmakers. So Mercy being up there with her happens as well. I think Mercy's real strength is that if everyone's healed up, you can still do something, and now you're amping up damage. But her damage amp is a little nerfed now. So
Yeah, it's not fun.
I think if they still think that she's a problem and still think that she's strong, the ult's really the only thing to tweak. And I think since I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you get like 1 second of invulnerability after, but you can't fire after the ult goes off, right?
mhm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why would they need to be rezzed at full health necessarily?
That's
maybe
an interesting change.
75% health or half health, even if if she's still like top tier even after all these changes.
I was
Yeah.
thinking too. Also, you could cap it on the amount of teammates you could res. Maybe cap it at 2 or 3, so that you can't do a full 5 sack and then bring.
It's
them
already
all
hard
back.
enough to make big plays as a support though, so I don't
Yeah,
like that change.
but
necessarily.
I mean, if you get a full 5 sack, say you get Mercy tucked away somewhere pretty safe, and then you 5 sack on the last push, and then bring them all back. I mean, how do you stop that? The only way to stop a res is to pick Mercy before she does it.
Well, if
Well, it's the
they
same,
have
like
they come
in
back with half
MOBAs,
health,
like in MOBAs, you always kill the support first as well, right? So, kill
Right,
the
but the range on her res is big enough that she could just not be almost never be vulnerable, and you don't really have a spy class per se to only go pick the med. I mean, I guess you have a tracer as the closest.
you
thing.
have Tracer, Reaper that can go
Right.
behind lines and.
I just don't really have a problem with Mercy issues. I don't see her as overpowered. And again, we haven't seen enough competitive play that like that is the play that everyone sacks and then tries to res, right? So that's not become
Yeah.
the meta yet. We haven't seen that yet. I don't see her as overpowered or strong, and I've always felt that Mercy it's a weird ultimate because your team has to die for it to be useful.
I think I like Jacob's suggestion that you don't really maybe need to res them at full health. Also, they can probably do something like res in the middle of the animation or something like this. There are a lot of opportunities to be tweaked with the ultimate, I feel, without breaking it or removing it or redesigning it completely, because I feel like if you redesign the res of Mercy, she stops being a Mercy. Like, you play her because of the big res. Like,
Mhm.
why else would you? I mean, healing and damage amp is great, but in the end, it's the Q that wins the team fights. This is why people are picking her.
You
But-
could maybe. I'm thinking of making it like McCree's ult, so you have to look at characters and lock their
Okay.
resurrection, and
That-
it has timer, maybe a bit faster than McCree's, because McCree's timer can be awfully slow. And then when you push it, it resurrects all those who have been locked in.
I feel like
Yeah,
this
that'd be
will
fair.
raise the skill ceiling so much, because you will have to start channeling before people die. So there will be a lot of issues with communication when you're playing in pub games, because you cannot really people not really always communicate. Well, I'm dying. I will be in need of a res in 2 seconds, right? So you can start channeling whatever the ultimate. I don't know. Maybe.
I think
We
also
are-
that makes it all the more satisfying to pull off though.
Absolutely. No. I agree with this, but it might be too difficult to pull off for novice or pub stompers. So I don't know, man. It sounds like a good change, but only to those that play Overwatch on the utmost competitive level, I would say. But I want to talk about 2 other heroes that Jeff Kaplan mentioned. Is Bastion and Torbjorn, 2 of the, I would say, strongest defensive heroes outside snipers, right? In his issue, or rather, the problems he sees with these characters is that they are too easy to play by newbies, and too easy to play against new players, right? Because they are incredibly strong when not countered properly. Bastion. I know that for a fact that my first games in Overwatch, when I would queue into Hana Mura and you see two Bastions, or on a newbie, so on B defense, you would get like two Bastions. Like, oh, how do I break this? I would be in the same position myself. I would play as Bastion and we would defend B on a newbies for 8 minutes. Against players who don't know necessarily what they're doing, what the hard counters are. Same for Torbjorn. Torbjorn is exceptionally strong on maps like Volsky if you put the turrets, in the central hub. These are characters that novice players, new players don't necessarily know how to counteract, but at the same time they're easy to play. And it is a problem that I agree must be addressed, because if a hero is easy to play, it must be easy to counter, right? If it's hard to play, it must be hard to counter. This is the high risk, high reward, name it however you want, but this is a balance that must be upheld in all these class-based shooters or class-based games in general. So Jeff's intentions and his team's intentions are to rebalance these two characters a bit more, to make them more difficult to play and more easy to counter, I would say, on the newer level, like on the entry level, but also make them viable in the competitive scene, because while they're so popular within the Overwatch newbies, the pro players don't necessarily tend to pick them regularly, just because being static heroes is an inborn disadvantage. What do you guys think about Jeff's vision of these heroes, and is there really a need to change Bastion and Torbjorn in the future?
I think yes, but probably not as much as he was suggesting. Because, like you said, the easier a hero is to play, the easier it should be to counter. And the thing is they are both actually really easy to counter. The problem is they're not very intuitive to counter. Like Pharah can counter them both pretty well. I think she counters Torbjorn a little better. Yeah, much better. Genji counters Bastion to the extreme, but you wouldn't really think that, because he's kind of squishy. He's got ranged attacks, but he can get behind him really easily, which is like game over pretty much. Reaper also, but you wouldn't really think that Reaper could counter them. They're all really easy to counter, but a new player wouldn't necessarily know how to quite as fast.
Yeah, I mean, also a lot of it is the communication that's happening right now is just not to the level that needs to be to counter static defenses in public games and not organized scrims or whatnot. And I think, you're talking in Anubis, especially Bastion on second point, when he puts himself in a corner, the corner that's kind of facing the point, it's strange. And it's because you can't really get on top of him. I think my biggest issue with Bastion is that if I'm on his head, he shouldn't be able to turn up and shoot me. Because if he puts himself in a corner, then you absolutely have almost no angle for attack, which feels very strange. I feel Torbjorn's not a problem at all right now. I have no issues countering Torbjorn. The Sentry has good range, but it doesn't have that much of a damage, and you can kind of spam down sentries and whatnot. And Torbjorn, I think, is fine. Bastion's rate of fire, in my opinion, is just it's insane. That if a Bastion sees you, you're dead. The amount of damage he can put out so quickly might be part of the issue. But I think a lot of it is just how do you balance it between public play and then competitive play? Because I feel like you don't see him in competitive play because they're so countered. If you have two people who are like, yeah, this guy's over here, let's kill him, it's not a problem with static defense. But in public play, when you have maybe people who aren't working as well together, then it does become difficult to counter a Bastion.
Yeah, they become exponentially stronger the less communication you have.
Yeah, but the counters exist out there. A Tracer will wreck a Bastion. I mean, I've died enough to Bastion that I've played him and then get wrecked as him, so I know that there are counters. Reaper, I think Reaper is his hard counter so hard. Genji, in my opinion, counters everything, but Bastion especially. Yeah, I think I see where he's coming from on this. Static defense is always difficult to deal with for newer and less coordinated teams, and maybe Bastion needs a small rework, but I think Torbjorn is fine, and people also I don't think Torbjorn's actually even strong enough right now.
No, I would actually stand beside you on the Torbjorn issue, because I think more and more people are finding ways to counter Torbjorn, and they know his shenanigans. They know where he places turrets. 7 out of 10 times I can blind snipe turbo turrets with whatever hero I'm playing. You know, I main Reinhardt as a tank, and I just can, you know, show myself from around the corner, shoot an E, and I will kill a turret like so often.
His
It's
turrets
incredible.
are not scary at all unless they're level 3.
No.
And even
Yeah.
then, they're
No, and
just kind of
Well, I mean,
threatening.
that begs the bigger issue. Like, how often have you seen a level 3 turret? I mean, like, it's so difficult to actually upgrade your turrets to a reasonable level that you only see 1s and 2s. I mean, I don't even know if I've ever built a level 3.
And think of that, like, even if you're building a turret, you also have armor to give other people armor packs. But how often do you do that? I mean, I've played Torbjorn, and I so often forget to deal out armor packs, and I'm just
That's
dealing
all
with my
they
own
do.
turret.
Yeah.
And the cost of the armor packs is pretty high too. It's like 50 scrap.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
50.
And
It's
scrap is
super
such a limited resource that
Yeah.
you know, it's difficult to dole it out. I mean, maybe that would work well with a symmetric composition like we were talking earlier, but the scrap composition and the resources it takes to play Torbjorn to, I think, the level that he needs to be are it's just very difficult right now. And
Yep.
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I was because I just want to continue your train of thought, because what you're saying, you know, Torbjorn problems, they feel exactly like Symmetra's problems a patch ago, right? Well, you would just do so little to help your team, and you know, when I play Torbjorn, when I used to at least, you would just babysit your turret, and every once in a while maybe throw an armor pack, but you have to be in the fray of things to collect the scrap, and he's not really the most healthiest of characters, and you still have to be around your turrets, because if you let it, you know, out of your sight, people will snipe it, and it just feels static. I know it feels like a weird word to use to describe Torbjorn negatively, because he's supposed to be a static hero, right? But it's, in my eyes, no hero should ever be that static. You know, I felt, you know, the same with Symmetra. Even though she can actually move and walk around and, you know, shield people, she felt very static.
Yeah, I was honestly pretty surprised that he put those two in the same conversation, because I think Bastion has issues right now of being too strong, and I think Chorban has issues of being too weak. So it was very surprising to see them both put together. And I mean, like, Bastion has a great gun just to move around. No one ever uses it, but he can run around, and he's got like a huge health pool and a really decent gun. He's got auto repair and sustain. He's got huge shields, like, and then
nobody plays him like this, by the way. Nobody plays him.
Right. I mean, I do, because you know, I suck when I'm sitting in a corner somewhere. It is because I'm bad for the most part.
I'll be
You
honest,
actually
I disagree completely. I think Bastion's pretty weak. I counter him really hard with Junkrat. You can easily maneuver bombs around him. Reaper counters him pretty hard. Like, I've never had a real problem with Bastion. I mean, of course, I've been wrecked by him, but I've been wrecked by every hero at one point, so I don't really count that.
I feel like there's no second chances against a Bastion. That, like, if you didn't see him going in, you're dead. If you didn't know he was there, you're dead. But you can't get shot once by a Bastion and be like, oh, I need to readjust my strategy. Because you get shot once by a Bastion, you got shot 55 times for 9,000 damage, and you're dead. It's over.
I mean, he basically eats through Reinhardt's with the shield.
He's a great Reinhardt
seconds.
counter, though. But I mean, Reinhardt does need that counter.
Yeah.
You know, he does need to not always have the shield. God, it's so frustrating to be on a pub and have people just stop shooting at a Reinhardt shield. By the way, just an aside, keep shooting at Reinhardt shield. It goes away eventually. Ugh. Right,
But I mean, if you get taken down by a Bastion once, and you know, okay, there's a Bastion, so let me pick Junkrat, Pharah, Reaper, Tracer, Genji, and you can all just take him out for the rest of the game.
There's actually, speaking of counters, I think somebody wrote, I forgot the name, so I apologize. It was on Overwatch Reddit. I'm sure I saw it somewhere on Twitter. It should be easy to find. It was a big document about each hero, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, what heroes counter him, and what heroes he counters or she counters. So I suggest that all those who are new to Overwatch and, you know, being, you know, swearing after, oh, Diva wrecked me again, or oh, Genji killed me again, this shit is OP, they need to just go and find this document and read through it, because yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in there. Not every hero is OP. unless it's Genji because he's was it you, Robert, who says he's only
Oh,
good
yeah.
on middle, close, and far range? It's
Yeah, he's totally balanced because he's good at short range, mid range, and long range.
yeah, but we'll
As a
get to
Genji-
Genji.
As a Genji player, I have to respectfully disagree that he's completely balanced. And
We're going to get to Genji later in the show. Let's not derail the topic before too much already. Speaking of more hero balance, I would say a beta patch just landed. What, yesterday? Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
recently.
Yes.
Let's say it's recently. This is to preface the big beta weekend that we're now experiencing, and there's some major changes. I would say the biggest one is arguably the Widowmaker change in the sense that her scope shots cost 3 ammo instead of 1, and her scope shot damage has also been slightly reduced. So no longer will you be one shot by a Widowmaker because you had the folly of showing 1 inch of your body around the corner. How do you guys feel? Was this a necessary change? Was Widowmaker really that strong that she warranted a nerf right before so many players came into the game?
I think the best thing is that her scope shots consume 3 bullets now. I think that's good because you could just spam and click away all the time, and you have to keep in mind when you're reloading a bit more now. You can, I think, scope shot 10 times now before you
Yep.
run out of ammo.
I don't think that change matters much at all. To be
No, it's only
honest.
like 6 now. Don't you have 20 in your clip? Isn't it like 6?
No, you have
21, I think.
Really?
Okay, so you can-
I thought 30.
30?
We
I
should
can't
really,
remember.
we should know. This.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, no, I do think that it's a bit better change. I don't like they reduced the damage it did because I don't think she was that insane yet. I mean Hanzo is his arrows are insanely strong still. So yeah.
I think
Yeah,
this
but
was more done in the sense that even if you miss a headshot, you could still deal a lot of damage, especially with mercy damage boost, right? And you're kind of supposed to aim for the head as a sniper, right? This is how you one-shot people, and a lot of the times I would feel like, yeah, you have a boosted Widowmaker, and I walk around as mercy, and I'm not even headshotted, and I just die, which should not be the case, right?
I mean, I think
Yeah.
anything to raise Widowmaker's skill ceiling is good too, because snipers have been a problem in FPSs forever, right?
Yeah.
Because they're essentially unfun to play against because the counter is don't be there, right? I mean, which is good because I mean it makes you aware of sight lines and map awareness and player awareness and whatever, but it still never really feels good to get killed by a Widowmaker. And I think the shots being increased by 3 is great because everyone's had that moment where you're looking at your kill cam in Overwatch and you see the guy
There's like
miss 5
Widowmaker spamming, yeah.
Yeah, you see him miss 5 shots and pew 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 all around you, and then you have your Zenyatta ult almost ready, and he hits you on the knee from a mile away on his 8th shot, and you're like, "Is that really fair? Was that really cool?" So it does eliminate the pew 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 sniper, and it raises the sniper level. So now when you get killed, you're like, "Well, at least that guy had to aim at me, and at least it wasn't his 8th shot." So it makes it feel a little better. Snipers will never feel perfectly fair to play against.
They are
but-
needed though. They are absolutely
Yeah,
necessary for-
no, it is
They
needed
counter
too.
most stuff that
Yeah,
would
no.
otherwise not be countered.
And like big picks in games happen because of snipers. I mean, the TF2 meta, even 6s revolve around off class to a sniper, get that medic pick. So medics are important, but I think this change is absolutely needed, and it goes hand in hand with the mercy change as well because. Yeah, if you ever won against a pocketed Widowmaker with a damage boost mercy, you'll know that both of these changes were absolutely necessary. It raises the skill ceiling. I think it's great. I think most characters need skill ceiling raised.
I like the change to the damage. I think it's good. I agree with all of what Rob said. I do not the bullet thing. I assumed that was already in the game from the start. Like when I first got into the Overwatch
Right.
beta, I was like, why is my scope bullets taking the same amount of bullets as my normal ones? That doesn't make much sense. That goes against what I've always thought in video games about snipers and their assault rifle morph into sniper guns. I don't know what other game has it, but I know that trope is there where it takes more bullets. So it doesn't change anything really. It should have always been in there.
I mean, just the positive note of Widowmaker when I first started playing her, I thought it was amazing. Just the utility she had too, the mobility, the close range. I've been one-on-one by Widowmakers as a Pharah. You know, maybe it's just my Pharah play was bad at those times, which is true. But to have a sniper be able to pull out an assault rifle, hit me with a venom mine, shoot the hell out of me, get it, you know, the mobility away, and then shoot me again. I mean, her character set and her kit is so good already that making her scope shot what it was just a little overbearing as well. She can't be the utility, all situation sniper and the perfect camping, massive damage sniper as well. So again, I think this change is perfect.
All right. There are two more heroes were also addressed. You know, outside the mercy damage boost and reverting back her resurrect cast animation, Genji has his damage over time removed, Swift Strike damage increased, and Mei, one of the other new heroes, can no longer charge her ultimate during an ultimate. Where I guess the general consensus is this needed to happen. You know, especially the nerfs, because both Genji and Mei, and actually Diva as well, do feel a bit stronger compared to, let's say, the older heroes of Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, we felt these tweaks were going to come, right? With new heroes, they didn't necessarily have the player base to test them out right away, and they're not huge changes, honestly. Damage over time is an interesting mechanic. It's strange, but he's the only one in the game with a damage over time mechanic. So it was odd to have a bleed mechanic going in, but I think maybe they moved all of that damage to a Swift Strike. We'll see how that works out.
I think they did.
Mei not being able to charge your ultimate during a Blizzard ultimate makes a little bit of sense because the Blizzard ultimate feels like it lasts forever. So you can just sit there and recharge your ultimate all over again. I think these are just tweaks that come with new characters coming out. I don't think they're major tweaks. I think Genji is still being Genji. My biggest concern is that they're going to put damage over time on a specific character to be introduced later. But I don't see that.
I think that the biggest problem with Genji still is mobility combined with the power of his shurikens, because those shurikens do a lot of damage. We see that we saw the same with McCree, whose primary fire also did a lot of damage. They tweaked that down, but the same problem is Genji now. Genji can snipe people with his shurikens. So
and it's awesome.
That's my biggest issue with Genji is his long. Yeah, shut up, Jacob. My biggest issue with Genji is his long range damage is just off the charts. Also, his shurikens each get buffed by Mercy's damage buff too. So that's 3 times 50% or whatever it is now. And I mean, he's throwing stuff. It should be lesser powerful that far away. And it's the McCree issue. This is why they nerfed McCree, because getting shot from a mile away and then having a character still be good at mid-range and close up doesn't feel fair. This vulnerability isn't there. His health pool is high. And the biggest problem I have with Genji is getting counter-sniped by him. I'm playing Widowmaker, and dude hits me with 3 shurikens and I'm dead. I mean, the damage from distance is, I think, his biggest issue right now.
Yeah.
And Jacob, you're a terrible person for defending it.
Okay, I'm not gonna comment on the shuriken business because I am clearly biased. But I will comment on the bleed. I liked the bleed. It was flavorful, you know. It felt like a thing that he would have. He runs at you and slashes you with his sword, and oh no, you're bleeding. He cut you. I don't know. I don't see why they had to remove it. I thought it was just a cool little. Even if it's the same amount of damage done both ways, it's just flavorful. It's just a neat thing that's unique to him.
it might have been. I don't know if if the impact damage of it is now the same as bleeding would cause over time. I don't know.
Sure it is.
Yeah, it is. Okay, because then tweaking it, like nerfing it, doesn't make any sense because it's still the same amount of damage you take, right?
It does buff his ult though. You understand that?
Oh,
By taking away the bleed, it buffs his ult because his ult resets his Swift Strike on kill. So when the Swift Strike is doing more damage, then you don't have to wait for the damage over time to come over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now that his Swift Strike is more powerful and it's not over time, then his ultimate is a little bit buffed. And I think people did call for his ult to be kind of buffed. That was seen as one of the weakest parts of his kit.
His bleed didn't stack.
I don't think so. but I mean, having the Swift Strike being reset on killing his ult and then having it do more damage, as it's reset is a partial buff to his ultimate ability. I haven't played it since the buff came out, or the patch came out, so I don't know. Also, I don't play Genji because I have morals.
Oh, I play Genji a lot.
Do you play Mei though? Because Mei is also being changed in the sense that well, she cannot really charge her ultimate during Blizzard, and as a Mei player, I don't like it, but I can totally see why they're doing it because man, Blizzard is strong, and
Yeah.
it's the crowd control Mei provides, and like if you're a good Mei player, and I'm a trash Mei player just because I've been playing her for a week, right? Imagine like what people can do with her like in 1 month when they learn all the cooldowns of her crowd control abilities, and going from with the main attack freeze into Blizzard into another main attack freeze, it's disgusting. And then shortly after that, you have another Blizzard ready.
Right.
So yeah, I think like if you have a stun as a cooldown, you should not be getting like as a general rule of thumb, you should not be charging your ultimate during this period because well, the AoE crowd control is already an advantage enough, so that needs to happen on a fairly big interval. Like if you look at other games, not just shooters, but MOBAs. Like let's say for example, these big AoE ultimates that are game turning. They usually have longer cooldowns, right? Because you cannot really have everything this AoE stun for every fight. If you take Heroes of the Storm, Uther has Divine Storm is ultimate, and that's not something you can use every time you want, right? And with Mei, it does feel like this is the case because she will always be in the thick of things. She will always be freezing people. She will always be recharging her ultimate really quickly. And if you can land the Blizzard and then just have your team wipe the other team because that's usually what happens, she will have Blizzard ready for about the other fight, right?
I mean, it just speaks to the design philosophy that Blizzard is implementing here, that they want ultimates to be spaced out correctly. Because this is the second time we've seen an ultimate charging patch come through. Because Widowmaker used to be able to charge her her optics during her ultimate as well, and they changed that, which makes sense because it's very easy to shoot people when you can see them through walls. So I mean, it generally speaks to the design philosophy that like your ultimate should be a special thing coordinated with other ultimates for big engagements, and you shouldn't be able to just spam it. So yeah, I mean, the change makes perfect sense to me, and it almost feels like, oh yeah, we forgot to make her not do that, because the patch comes out so quickly.
I just played her this morning with Blizzard and everything. Like I played full games with her. She feels fine. She feels perfectly balanced now.
Yeah.
I think this was a good change.
She's good. I like Mei a lot. She's maybe my favorite hero in the game because she's so much fun to play.
It was. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Like, for example, she is the hard counter to Genji. I mean, she's the only one that counters him full 100%. Genji's all about his movement, and she counters that so hard. And like her walls putting up is just so much fun. If a Reinhardt comes charging and you put a wall in front of him and he's down, he needs to reload his charge again and whatnot. And she's fun. She might not even be the best defending character in many sense, but she's so much fun to play.
I think she still is the best defensive character. Like overall, when you look at her, like sure she's not a sniper. Like she cannot one shot people like Widowmaker or Hanzo, but she kind of falls in this weird mid place between a defensive character and a support character. And I feel like this is why I love her so much. Like I almost get bored of pure supports, like pure healers. But to be able to do multiple things, as part of my kit, not just she has self healing, she has crowd control, she has terrain control, and she has massive crowd control. This is like every other game she would be a support. I'm like she's defensive here for obvious reasons because
Zone control mostly.
Yeah.
She can lock down an area pretty well with her ult.
What's cool about this, like the characters they introduce, is like like you mentioned, they introduce Genji and they're like, oh my god, Genji is amazing. And then they're like, well, but here's Mei. Mei will deal with Genji. Like the heroes that they released together are all kind of like in this same set of heroes. You know, they all work
Yeah.
with and against each other in interesting ways.
Is there any synergy or counter potential between Roadhog and Junkrat?
I mean, you could pull people into traps when people are like. I think Junkrat's hardest thing to do is hit people who are moving, right? Because nades are kind of difficult to hit, and then Junkrat kind of brings them in a little bit. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. That's a great question.
But you just said they're released in pairs one, so I thought.
Yeah, no, like I was talking about this most recent like set of heroes, but I mean, I had not thought about it. You play a ton of Junkrat. I play a ton of Roadhog. We haven't played together often though.
I play almost exclusively Junkrat and Genji right now.
So, you're a cool person with no morals. This is something we established.
No morals. None.
I'm fine
No,
with you,
no.
Junkrat play. Your Genji play, we have to have a conversation about because it's just. It's
Yeah, it
so
needs
unfun.
to stop because it's winning games, right?
Is this a podcast or an intervention?
Well,
Yeah.
it's both. It's both.
It's both. This is how every podcast that I do, and this is my second one, so I'm not sure why I'm talking. It's like I have 1,000, right? Like every podcast I do, this and the other one is like an intervention, and we need to have serious
I feel
talks with
like-
my hosts.
Genji is definitely becoming like the pyro for me in TF2. In TF2, I hate playing against pyros. I think it's a joke of a class, and like it's just awful to play against. So eventually, I had keybinds that were just passive aggressive against pyros. And like every time I get killed by Genji now, I need a keybind because I always stop and type it out that Genji is fair and fun to play against because I'm passive aggressive, and that's absolutely not true.
I
'cause
think
he's fair and
that
fun to
will
play against.
change though if the damage of his shurikens get reduced a bit, because then he's a hero that's built around mobility because he's a ninja. He jumps around, hops around, and it shouldn't change like his dash or his double jump.
He should be mid-range, short-range. I get that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like since they nerfed McCree, that I've had no problems with McCree ever since. I'm like that's fine. I should have kind of known he was in there. Like getting stuns still doesn't feel good. Stuns and FPSs are still kind of an issue for me, but I think they have a place in this game. But getting 100 damage from a mile away from McCree was the problem. They fixed him, and I've had no complaints with McCree since. But I think Genji is incoming. I feel like if they don't change the long range damage on the shurikens, it's a little
Do you
wrong.
think there should be a drop off for the shurikens at a certain point?
Damage drop off would be perfect.
Not even a damage drop off, but just a vertical.
When aiming in arc, right?
Yeah, an arc.
That's something I can get behind. Like I feel like you can, if you do the arc adjustment, it would raise it would keep his viability, but would raise the skill ceiling so much. Because I suck at offensive heroes, and even I can play Genji.
Right.
Like I'm really bad at offensive heroes. I cannot aim to save my life, and with Genji, it's like, oh, I hit 3 shurikens, and people die.
Yeah, like for mid to short range, it still goes straight. It still goes where you want it. But getting into the longer ranges, it would just kind of dull down a bit.
Anything really, anything to change it a little bit, because one of the most frustrating things is when a Genji gets on you, right, and he dashes through you and he hits you with one, and then like you put some damage on him, but then he runs away and he's 2 miles away and he hits you with a throwing star and you're dead because it does so much damage from that far away. It's like I almost killed you. I know, because you're the worst. Which is
Well, this kind of derailed into the first main topic we had for the show, kind of a long segue into talking about the trio of new characters that got released, well, recently. We already covered Genji pretty extensively, and why playing it makes you a bad person that has no morals, and it's basically...
I would talk to a little bit about
I'll own
makes
it.
like Putin's concubine, right? Putin's concubine, you're that evil. But we
He's
touched
a
on...
sexy man. I could get behind you any day.
You can get behind it. It's usually how it goes the other way around. So Putin gets behind you. It's a PG-13 show. We promise it's going to be a PG-13 show. It's not going to be de-innervated for those of you who are watching.
Such a good host.
I'm trying my best, man. Being civilized is not my usual nature. But we also talked about May. I want to talk about Diva. She's the new tank that got released. Cool Korean chick piloting a big mech, shooting shotguns and blowing up mechs, and with them your entire team. Now I've been playing with Diva and against Diva a lot because everybody wants to try her, especially those of the players who have been in the Overwatch beta since the beginning. Now, it obviously she's new. She's the new cool chick on the block, right? And my personal experiences with and against Diva, like the hero as a whole, has been so mixed, so fluctuating. Like when I play against her, I sometimes think, "Well, she's too strong." Then I beat another Diva like easily. Okay, she's too weak. And then I have the same feelings when I play as Diva. Like sometimes I wreck people so hard that it's disgusting, and sometimes I just I feel like I'm always outside the mech because somebody knows how to focus.
So what you're saying is she's completely balanced.
Yeah, that's
a long way of saying she's
a long
perfectly
way.
balanced.
Well, I'm not sure if she's completely balanced or that I suck with her, or I just don't know how to play with her or against her.
I think what's cool about Diva is
actually I would say that she's not balanced. She's either super strong or super weak, but I don't think she's balanced. She's towards one of those extremes.
I think the interesting thing about Diva is that she's a tank who basically has an infinite life bar, which makes her really good on offense and defense. I mean, offensively, she's got her ult, which can clear out a lockdown area better than a Winston, I would say. It's just incredible at making people scatter. But even then on defense, it kind of does the same thing. It creates a lockdown area, and the fact that she can just keep doing that over and over and over again and never die if she's good.
Right.
I mean, she's a solid hero, man.
I think she's a good second tank. I guess that'd be like the bruiser role in a Heroes of the Storm kind of game. I don't think you can really solo tank her well, but I think her utility is so amazing. She's good at even dealing with snipers because of her mobility. She can get after the assassins as well. When she first came out, I thought she was way too strong because I thought that ultimate, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Does it just kill everyone on the map? Is it just a map reset? It might as well be. But then when you learn how the mechanics work of it, how it's line of sight, you can be right next to it as long as you duck behind the cart, as long as you don't see it. It's like the ghosts in Mario Brothers. If they don't see you, they can't do anything. But I've had no problems with it. I feel like she's balanced. The one thing that I don't love is her light gun. Her gun when she's out of the mech is so strong. It's like every shot will cut anything. I mean, but the trade off is of course that she's super weak outside of her mech.
Yeah, 150 health or something like.
Yeah, but she's super fun to play. The mark of a good character, in my opinion, is she fun to play against. Because there's a lot of characters that I don't really like playing. I'm not a super fan of playing certain characters, but if a character is fun to play against, I find that's good for the game overall. And I think she's fun to play against.
Yeah, she's fun to play against. You have to be aware. You have to line of sight some abilities. You have to kind of play the Jack in the Box game with her, where she pops out. You gotta target her and focus her down and find her, and she's jumping all over the place. I think she's fun to play against.
The best thing I see with experienced Diva players is that they would charge, to a capture point. Let's say queue out of the mech, load the bomb, then immediately retreat and either wipe everybody else who's at the capture point, or create enough space so that you can regroup and attack the capture point and basically mess up your opponent's plans, because they might have set up turrets, they might have set Symmetra nest. She's godly at clearing static defenses. Oh my god.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god.
Some of the plays you see, and we've seen a lot of plays been posted lately, like top 5 Diva plays and everything. I've seen the same 5 clips 7 times, and her secondary ability to block damage is also great too. Diva is a fun character to watch be played, to play against, and to play a little bit. I mean, if her guns were any stronger, she'd be overpowered, but her ultimate is such a fun concept, and it's so perfect for the problems that we talked about earlier with the static defense. So, Diva's great.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Agreed.
So she's good. She is good.
She's good. She's good.
Do you think that she needs changes, like kit changes, numbers changes, anything?
No, maybe slight damage reduction on the ult. It is a little strong.
It does murder.
It can take out. It's got to do over 600 damage because it can take out Roadhog in one hit.
Yeah, it's a nuke. And I think I like the concept of when she's out of the mech, when she's so squishy that her ult recharges quickly because she's obviously built around that mech. But I do agree with Hex that it needs a slight damage reduction because let it charge at the same rate, but just let it deal a bit less damage because she can take out a Widowmaker on her own.
I'm
When she's
not Hex.
No.
Sorry.
No, it's the light gun. The light gun mercs people.
light-
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, the light gun. The
The
Oh.
light gun being super
Oh.
strong.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
My bad.
Not everything is about you, Jacob. God,
Well,
Genji players, am I right?
It should be.
It should
Everything
be.
should be
yeah.
about me.
Make your own podcast, man.
Yeah. So to summarize, Genji players are scum of the earth, Mei players are cool people, and Diva players are just normal
Cool
human
people?
beings. That's
Yeah.
cool
Did
people.
you do that on purpose?
Yes, yes. I just want to end the topic as a TLDR version. Like, if you're Genji, you're really, really horrible person.
Until
Probably
it gets
short,
nerfed.
probably un-American. If you're playing Mei, you're the
What's
cool
this?
kid. You're the cool kid wearing the Hammerfall hoodie. And if you're playing Diva, you're just a normal human being who likes Korean girls. So these are
man.
this is the state of things de facto. There's no points. This is my communist regime oppression that I'm setting on the podcast. You have to agree, or otherwise I will kill your families.
I
Yeah,
disagree.
yeah. Well, you don't-
Nah,
I'll
I
suffer
think
in
you're very
silence.
bad at summarizing things.
I'll
Rada.
suffer in
Like,
silence.
yeah.
It's- I'm either really bad or you don't really need your family at this point. So
I mean, think of other games like Hearthstone when Patron Warrior was overpowered and everybody was playing that, and were they all horrible people? No, they were just trying to win. So
Wait, what do you mean they weren't horrible people?
wait.
What
Hey,
did
shut up!
that
You're a
assumption
golden
come from?
hunter. You're a gold hunter. Shut up.
I'm
You
gonna
don't get to
defend
talk.
my face. No. This is
I played mid-range hunter. That's what everyone tells them. So
Yeah.
so you're
right.
only like half a scumbag. Okay, that's
I played Death Rattle mid-range or Undertaker's mid-range.
okay.
moving on to actually another relevant to Overwatch topic, which is the state of supports, and this is kind of inspired by an article at PCGamer.com authored by Chris Thurston. Now, Chris Thurston is PC Gamer's resident Dota 2 writer, and when he writes this article, he makes a lot of comparisons with this game. So the title of his article, What Overwatch Could Learn from Dota 2 Support Characters, and he makes some really good points, especially if you're maining support and you're aware of what supporting in Overwatch feels like. So to summarize Chris Thurston's article, and I do suggest that you go and read it in full because it's a wonderful piece. He says that Overwatch supports are in the state that they really lack playmaking abilities. You don't feel like you can cast a spell, or you can cast an ability, or you can cast an ultimate and just basically turn around a fight, or create a team fighting opportunities that just swings the game in your favor. And he mentions heroes like Earthshaker in Dota 2, which can easily win games by themselves if they are at the right place at the right time. Stunning people, dealing massive damage to the whole team. And he brings up characters like Mercy especially, and Mercy is a character that you basically babysit somebody. You fly around, babysit other people, but all you do is boost their damage, heal them up, and be mindful of your surroundings. Even the resurrection, which we praise so much at this show, for being almost too strong, doesn't really feel like playmaking. People die, then you res them, and that's all, right? It's sure you pull off an amazing play, but it doesn't really feel that impactful right when it's casted, right? Like, it's usually okay, you guys won the game because you get more people now, but it happens like 1 minute later. It's not a playmaking ability. And as somebody who's played Dota and League and Heroes before, like being a resident mobile player for the majority of my career, I would say that he's definitely right, at least when it comes to characters like Mercy, especially like Mercy, because I started Overwatch by playing Mercy because she was a character that didn't really you didn't really have to aim with her, and I'm a bad FPS player. So generally, like, okay, I will play Mercy. I will sit by the guy that knows what he's doing, and I will just help him win the game for me. But it felt fun at first, but after my 50th Mercy game, it felt repetitive. It felt boring, and I felt like, okay, I don't want to play this hero anymore for the rest of the month. So let's go through some of these points. Like, first of all, do you feel that this is a general problem for Overwatch supports, that they feel like they lack playmaking opportunities, they feel static, they feel boring? Is this a
think-
general problem, or is it a problem with certain characters only?
I think something that's really telling is when the new characters were announced and Mei was first revealed. My first look at Mei when she was first announced, I was like, oh my gosh, what a cool support character. Because I thought she was going to be support. I thought she was going to be a really interesting take on a support that maybe doesn't have any healing, but can support in other ways. Like Earthshaker. No healing, but still a really strong support. And I don't think any of the supports right now in Overwatch really have that kind of like, oh, this is so interactive and cool, and it's such a fun thing to play around with, to see what kind of neat things I can do to support my team in weird ways, or in interesting ways.
I mean, they may not be like interesting. I think he's right on Mercy. I've had issues with Mercy. I brought this up earlier, that I just don't think her ultimate is that fun and resurrect, especially in a casualistic setting. I'd completely disagree with him on the other supports. I don't even put Symmetra in the support category, really. She's niche, but I think Lucio and Zenyatta have more than enough playmaking with fun abilities. And this is from someone who doesn't really like playing supports, but I'm more than happy to go a Lucio or a Zenyatta, and those guys are defense breaking. I mean, if you want to push last on Volskaya, you need a Lucio ult. You got to get those shields up, and you got to try to break in with a Lucio ult. And if you want to defend on Anubis, getting your Zenyatta ult up and your Transcendence to keep everyone alive when they try to rush in is absolutely crucial. And beyond that, both of them have the damage capabilities that you can lead boards and eliminations. I always lead boards and eliminations with Zenyatta, and they're not final blows necessarily, but you have Orb of Discord wrecking people. You're getting assists from your Orb of whatever healing it is. And
Harmony.
Harmony, sure. But I think he's got a point as far as Mercy goes. Mercy is the designed, the kind of classic medic heal, right?
Yeah,
She's TF2
it's
medic
medic.
all over
Yeah.
the place, right?
See, the
I get that, but
is,
Lucio and Zenyatta, I think he's dead wrong on it. Lucio and Zenyatta, I think, are full of playmaking abilities and absolutely crucial to win games.
the problem is yes, okay, say you have your Zenyatta set up on the last point of Temple of Anubis. He's got his ult, he's keeping everybody alive, great. Mercy could have kind of done the same thing, and maybe to an extent better, because, I mean, sure, he's healing them all, but a second life is also pretty much the same thing.
I mean, I guess that's fair enough. I think I'm just talking about just how the fun factor, right, of how they play, and I feel Zenyatta is more fun, and it doesn't feel like you're babysitting with Zenyatta. It's like, oh, that guy needs heals, and then you toss him the orb, and then you're done. He's taken care of. I'm gonna go hit this Reaper with Discord, and then I'm gonna shoot 5 necklace balls at him and kill him.
But what purpose does somebody have to pick a Zenyatta over a Mercy aside from just it's fun,
Break tanks.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
Zenyatta's tank breaker.
yeah, but I'm talking about purely supporting. Like there's no real reason if you want to heal somebody to go with Zenyatta over Mercy.
Yeah. I still feel like even if Zenyatta is more, let's say, action-packed support in the sense that he can shoot and kill people, he's still lacking playmaking abilities in the very sense that Chris Thurston is talking about. Sure, you can snipe somebody, but is this really playmaking? Because I've shot people in the face with Mercy and kill somebody, right? But it's not a playmaking opportunity. And for the 80% of the time as Zenyatta, when I'm not trying to shoot balls at people, I'm just babysitting, transferring the Orb of Harmony to people who need it, or transferring the Orb of Discord to people who I want to kill. And that's all I do. I just Shift E across the map. And again, sure, it's some kind of interactiveness, but it's not playmaking in the sense that playmaking means, right? It's not like, okay, I just did this and we just won the fight by me doing this.
I don't know. I feel like maybe people just aren't playing it the way that it might need to be played. I think when you're running support, right, you're the battlefield commander. You should be calling things, right? So when I'm playing Zenyatta, I call who's discorded, and that gives you vision on that person too, because you can always know where they are with the orb of discord. You can call like who needs heals, come back. Like I think the opportunity to play support in a way that's interactive and fun and controlling of the match state. I mean, the supports in FPS games and specifically class-based FPS games usually are going to be the ones with the best game sense, right? So you amp up your game sense ability, and like with a Lucio on a push, you're like, we need to wait. We're gonna group up and we're gonna go now, and then we're gonna amp up to the next point because I have this speed boost. Like, granted, you're not shooting people in the face, but you're, as a support, if you're solo supporting in this game, you're in control of the state of the game. You're controlling the tempo of the game and how things are playing out. And I think in and of itself, that's a dynamic and fun way to play. I don't know. I just disagreed with the article completely, and I feel like you can take an opportunity as support to make it the most fun part of the game.
Except with Mercy. Except with Mercy.
Yeah,
Because-
yeah. Mercy to me,
yeah.
she's dead to me. I don't like.
I mean, I can totally agree with Lucia because and I'm just gonna count May as a support, like not a defense hero, because
Yeah.
she in my eyes, in every other game, she would be a support, like hands down.
She's Earthshaker, man. She's just Earthshaker.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Lucio and May are the design directions they need to take if they want to make the supports more fun to play, right?
Yeah.
More interactive and more game breaking, or much team fight designing, or whatever you want to call it. Because again, as May, you land the big blizzard stun 4 people, now they are suddenly dead, and now that's matchmaking, that's Earthshaker level, as Jacob said, of decisiveness, of team fights, dictation. Like, yep, we land, we kill them, and it's only because of the fact that May landed the ultimate. Same with Lucio. We only won this fight because the sound barrier was cast at the right time. We charged into them, killed them all. Right? Other supports don't have this. I'm sad to say that, but at the same time, I feel that not every support should play like this, because for people who never played FPS in my life, like me, Mercy is perfectly fine hero to have. Like, maybe she doesn't need to be that strong because she's easy to play, but you need to have these supports that are just classic vanilla, stay behind, being super passive supports. You need to have both worlds, I guess.
And there are some people who like playing that way too. There
of
are
course,
people
yeah.
who enjoy that aspect of the game. I think we could probably all agree that right now, as far as a role, that support is the weakest pool of characters, and that I would be surprised if in the next updates and the new characters, if new characters introduced, that a support wouldn't be the first among them, because I think variety would be great now. Because honestly, like, there's 3. I don't really think Symmetra is the support that we need, and it's just the weakest pool right now. I mean, I agree with it.
Do you guys think that instead of reworking the current sports we have, just adding new, more interactive ones would be a better solution?
Oh yeah. I think that the support pool we have now as a basic support pool is perfectly fine, because if you look at the role, including May, there's something for everybody. There are defensive, turret-based supports. There are supports that can kill people. There are passive supports. There are active supports. Literally, if you want to play a role as a support and you have a distinct playstyle, you will find something for you there. Because I try to main tanks and supports, and I feel that in these categories, well, I only like, let's say, half of the characters, right? And this is really good for the game, because I like to play the game in a certain way, and I will never be a Lucio player, for example, because I don't want to be in the thick of things as a support. But at the same time, I really like playing Reinhardt and, let's say, Winston, because, well, I want to get in your face and kill you as a tank, a big hammer or big lightning or big monkey.
But they all
Robert-
play so they play so like Mercy is that perfect like classic support. She's like classic design support. Lucio is like that tempo support. Like I'm gonna call our moves and this is what we're gonna do and like now we're gonna move here. And then Zenyatta's like it's perfect design. He's like he knows all around him. He's the Zen. He's got the wisdom of the battlefield. Like the design of the characters actually works out really well. And like because I don't like playing support. I don't like playing like medic in TF2. I don't play Mercy. You know, that's my bias against that. But I do enjoy playing a Lucio or a Zenyatta because it's designed differently for different players.
Okay, last question before we move towards the end of the show. Like, what kind of support do you guys feel it's lacking in Overwatch right now? Because we said it. Well, there's a lot of design space to be had and to be explored with supports, but there's also quite a big variety in the game already. What's needed for the game to become even more interesting, and in the supports role in particular?
Jacob, you want to take this one?
Whoa, put me on the
This is a-
spot there.
Yeah, I know. It's because
Uh,
I need time to think. I hadn't thought.
I think we don't have a support that's similar to like oh now I just lost the character's name. Oh man. Alchemist? Is that the name?
Okay, from Dota.
Alchemist.
Okay.
From Dota, because Alchemist is a really interesting character that isn't necessarily built to be a support, but he can, and he's really good at it. And he does it by like buffing his allies, and he can get money. I know that there's no money mechanic in Overwatch, but be creative, Blizzard. I mean, there's other ways. The same kind of concept can carry over. He gets money so fast that he can afford to get the supportive items and also get his more standard items at the same time. And if you go really late, he can give people the rod. You can buy rods for people and give them rods. And there's nothing like that in either Heroes of the Storm or Overwatch. I think that's something really interesting.
I was thinking more of like in Heroes of the Storm, you have Abathur, who just sits in the base and sends out troops all the time. I would like to see maybe some kind of hero that just sits behind the
It
lines.
will
far
require a
be-
minimap though, or something like this.
Yeah, but like who can has like this orb that Abathur has as well that enhances damage from your allies. And he can jump around and maybe send in small troops, like little soldiers or whatnot. Blizzard can design that. But someone that it doesn't take an active role on the battlefield or directly heal, but you'd have to get far behind enemy lines to find that character and maybe kill it or whatever. Like,
I mean, because there's so much crossover in Overwatch, it's difficult to reimagine designs because you have heroes that do area of effect healing that are offensive in Soldier 76. You've got heroes who give you shields in Zarya who are tanks. I think earlier we were talking about like how I'd redesign Symmetra, and I'm like she's kind of like engineer but without a dispenser. So maybe something that's kind of like a hybrid between a builder character and a support that does like make a building that will heal or give shields and do things like that because they do crossovers in the roles like that. But I mean, I miss a dispenser. A dispenser is always a good thing to see when you're playing TF2. So it'd be nice to see like a little building, but also, it still opens up your vulnerability of like clumping up around it and then getting wrecked by a rain from above. So something that which crosses over, they're just blurring the lines of all these characters anyway between roles. So.
I would actually like to see something to amplify the effect of more of these pickup style, like Torbjorn, throwing armors. I would like to see a support that's entirely based around it. You have throw a med pack or a damage pack or a armor pack or something like this. You just you're so dynamic in what you do that you can always be a defensive or an offensive support based on who you're playing with, who you're playing against, and the state of the fight at the same point, right? So just throw stuff at people, be a good support.
So you want to play a dispenser?
Yeah.
Dispenser.
Make a third ninja brother who just climbs on walls and.
No more ninjas.
Yes, more
never,
ninjas.
Never have enough ninjas.
I don't like Hanzo or Genji. I don't know, man.
We need more balanced ninjas.
Hanzo is not a samurai. So it's not a ninja. He's a samurai
Yeah.
with a
right.
bow. Yeah. So get your ninja facts
Completely
straight.
different.
Yeah, I
yes.
know.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I was reading about the ancient samurai, how they just spammed doorways and got kills and considered themselves.
yeah, it's basically red apples and green apples. It's totally different. It's totally different. But we're gonna wrap this up, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for the first episode of Catch Your Points. Make sure to follow us on our respective Twitters. You can find them all below our beautiful faces, semi-beautiful faces. We'll call them beautiful faces. All of us, you can read our work on GosuGamers.net. Make sure to follow the site at Gosu Overwatch, which is specifically for the Overwatch feed. You can follow the whole site at GosuGamers on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe and like our YouTube channels and Facebook channels as well. And yeah, just tune into GosuGamers.net every day because we will have fresh content for the game as soon as we get it. The show will return next week. We're still looking for a suitable time because it's Thanksgiving for Freedom Country, or as you like to call it, America. Like, I mean, we all have to appreciate it because the only country with democracy in the world is having a holiday. So we'll have to be accommodative to our two hosts, but we certainly will have a show for you next weekend. We always go. We also going to stream it live. This was actually supposed to be live on Twitch last night, but we ran into some technical difficulties, so we are re-recording it for you today. Any final words from you guys before we bring this to a wrap?
Don't play Genji. Be a better person.
Play Genji. Play Genji every game. And if you have 3 Genjis, you could always use another.
Tom?
Just pick Mei and counter all those. I mean, easy.
Well, I don't have any advices besides that because I think Genji is by far the topic that everybody should be talking about. In fact, this is how I'm gonna pick up girls now in bars. Like, hey, do you play Genji? Because
What do you think about Genji?
What do you
all right,
think
all
about
right,
Genji?
all right.
Okay.
So-
Thank you guys for joining us. See you next week.